Hello everyone and welcome to the LSI F1.5 EU Championship. We're today for the USA Grand Prix Austin, Texas COTA. Let's get it underway. We are 11-12 minutes into qualifying, and I will have you corrected there in the chat. It's not actually late. We just started the stream later. I do apologise that the overlay is slightly incorrect, but we have started later due to the F1 sprint race, of course. But we are finally here. We were only a couple of minutes late, 3 or 4 minutes late. Of course, now qualifying 10 minutes on the clock. Verf, currently P10, a reserve driver, but a current tier reserve driver, more importantly, looking to try and see if they can get a win this season. They've been pretty unlucky. Well, they had a pretty bad and unlucky race last time out, of course, in Zandvoort. Can they get another opportunity to do it? We see Chocolada coming back once again after Austria, where they gave us a brilliant performance. They're looking to try and get up the top as well. But Frantic currently sits on pole position as they are a 31.712, the championship leader, looking to continue to be strong. So Maxon on an outlap and Sergio Willis. Jaco Willis already set something so far, but looking to go again and try and compete against that Haas car. Verf going into turn 12, cutting the corner fairly tidily. 9 minutes on the clock, so you don't need to take too many risks. Under traction, very difficult in this second sector complex. On the exit, get over to the curb, open up the wheel, and then through the double right-hander, and just try and keep it as tight as you can to minimise that track distance, as that's where you'll gain the most time. And through the final two corners, 19 and 20, and then you'll get that final corner. The traction is going to be slippy, the pressure is going to be on to complete it. DRS will be open, and that will be a P2, a 31.869, and very close to the back of Frantic.
Yeah, Frantic, of course, being challenged by Verf, who, as you say, has had very, very few unlucky races. Of course, not doing so well in the previous events. And I think he has got the pace. As you see, he's only 1/10 off Frantic, the championship leader, as we know. And qualifying P2 here is actually very beneficial because track position, you may not think it, but I think, personally, from what I seen yesterday, that track position is very vital because you need to be in that front pack, and if you're not, you're going to lose about 7-8 tenths a lap, as you've seen on Friday. So Verf putting himself in the best position, besides P1, the best position possible. And if he can hold that on, and then he should be able to, hopefully, for his sake, finally have a good race.
Sorry, Zingy, is this a circuit that you'd want to do a risky strategy at, maybe? Whether you're starting up the front of the grid or further down, would you want to try and go for maybe a set of softs, or just would you start on the mediums as standard?
If you're falling far behind, you need to take your chances, and I think if you were to go to any tyre, you'd probably want to start on the to take risks, probably softs, pit around lap 7 after you've got that track position, and go hard to the end. As Simaxon goes on pole with a 31.3, that's a very impressive lap from Simaxon, going 4 tenths ahead of Frantic. But as I said, soft tyre is probably good for about 3-4 laps before they start to die off, and that's really how much time you need to get up those few positions. And then, of course, doing the hard undercut, you're going to gain a lot of time. So yeah, you can take risks here, you can do different strategies, but I think for what we're going to see here for everyone, if not most people, is going to be that medium hard.
Sure. And something that I noticed yesterday in qualifying, the track evolution is pretty crazy around this circuit, so we have to watch out for that. The qualifying session is not over until it is really, really over. It's just the traction zones that really get to you around this circuit. But Simatson, as you said, Zingy, is currently on top of the timings, and everybody else is either in the pit lane or going out for their first time run. Of course, you've got Tom Robb, Devon Young, Charlie, all as high tier drivers. Unfortunately, Zora has been disqualified from the session early on, so we'll start dead last in this race. Peanuts might be able to make it as a higher tier driver as well, and we'll start at the back, but we'll see how it goes for them. Of course, Terence, though, joining the session late, will get a lap in very shortly, and we'll head over to the driver from Hong Kong to see them cross the line.
Yeah, a car in the way there, that Red Bull. I think he was just out of the way enough so he didn't interrupt Terence. Coming through turn 19, a bit of scrubbing off speed on the exit, which is not what you want, but coming into the last corner, he's going to get nice traction out of there and up to the line. It's going to be P5 for Terence. That's not too bad, 32.8. He can definitely improve on that. He made a few mistakes throughout the lap, so I wouldn't be too worried if I was Terence at the moment, sitting comfortably. If you can get a few more tenths in the bank, it could be challenging Jericho Willis, who, of course, is fourth. And I think Terence is showing some alright pace here, considering he joined late.
Yeah, exactly. Joining late is always going to make you kind of a bit in a bad rhythm. You're going to lose a little bit of confidence through that. But you'll be able to bleed yourself in. It's a technical circuit. It feels like a long race, that's for sure. High downforce, a lot of hard work under the wheel. So I'm sure they're going to be able to use that time behind the wheel to get everything together and try and be nice and consistent. Frantic Verf out on track, so is Jericho Willis. 4 minutes on the clock, 5 minutes on the clock, really. Is that a bit too early, Zingy? Do you think they needed to go a little bit later, or do you think they can still get 2 laps in?
For the last run, yes. If you're going with 5 minutes to go, it might be a bit touch and go if you want to do 2 runs, but with 1 run, I think you should be okay. I'd say, as Frantic actually aborts his lap because he's invalidated just before the last corner. Yeah, I think it would be more beneficial waiting to that free 2-minute mark. As you said, the track evolution is very high, and you do not want to leave any time on the table. As we seen on Friday that everyone was improving towards the end of the session, and that allowed was it Ticey on pole or was it Heish?
Ticey on pole by 2 tenths ahead of Heish, so 0.4. Would that have been a 30.4, or was it 20 into the 29s? I don't think it was in the 29s. So 30.
No doubt.
Yeah, 30.4 for Ticey and a 30.6 for Heischler, which was an incredible lap time there at the end from Ticey. Now, Frantic, would you say they should go into the pit lane and come out again if they had fresh tyres, or do you think they should just keep it nice and slow and then go again on this set of tyre?
Well, he's not going to take much life out of it. He's going very slowly. He understands that he needs to just trundle around. He's got enough fuel for it. He should do it anyway. Even if he is on standard, he should be able to save enough. And I think, yeah, he'll have enough time, he'll have the tyres, and he should be able to get this lap in next lap, as opposed to this one.
For sure, and we've got Verf, interestingly, on a fast lap, but they don't have that much ERS down the straight, so I don't think they would have been losing out on power. They had enough to be alright. They'll gain a decent amount back in this section of the circuit, but they're not really going to be able to utilise it too much. They're just going to have to let the ERS be, otherwise they'll lose it. If you go to below 20 to 10%, you start to lose out in performance. They have a little bit of a difficulty in that penultimate corner, final corner, get in on the traction smoothly using all of the track available. It'll be a P2, but they're not going to be close enough to Frantic there. 0.467 in the end. Sorry, I should say Samaxon in the end. So they'll have to back off. That is going to be a crash, and Malik Mima will be out of this session, unfortunately. That'll be their qualifying done. P8 or lower for them. It can't be lower, so they will stay where they are. No lap time, though.
Yeah, I think he just spun up the rear tyres coming out the last corner, and that's, of course, affected it enough that he's not only spun the car, but he must have hit that wall very, very hard on exit. We see Jericho Willis coming through the last few corners, a very fast turn 18 here, you can see, very stressful on the left-hand side tyres. Coming for the 19, you need to be very committed over the curb nicely. Very, very well done there. And coming for the last corner, needs to be careful not to spin it. He's went a bit wide, up to the line he goes now. It's a 31.9, which is an improvement on his own personal best, but he's not going to move up any more positions. And with that, that'll be his qualifying over in P4 at best.
For sure, and we've now got purple middle sector according to the mini-map, although you can never trust it, for Frantic, who is pushing. I say that, they seem to back off now as they maybe made a mistake. Do they have enough fuel? I don't quite know, but it looks like they're trying to save a bit more battery and then go again. No, they're going into the pit lane. That is Frantic out of qualifying. They will be starting P3 or lower. Jericho Willis could have an opportunity, maybe. No, they won't actually. I don't think so. They probably won't make it to the line again. It's not possible.
He will. He will, but I don't know if he'll have the tires or fuel. Yeah, just a note on those that purple sector, Aaron. So say if you're, well, Chocolate, he would be quite a good example because he's P7. If he is purple, he isn't purple to the pole time, he'll be purple to Terrence.
Right, I see.
Do you understand what I mean? So you know when you're in a race and you've got the 2 people in front of you, 2 people behind you, you can see it on the little screen.
Purple to Terrence, so it's according to the car. Sorry, ahead?
Yeah, you know how when you're racing, you can see the person 2 places ahead. It'll be based off of that and not the leader.
Okay.
Oh, so Frantic was purple there, yes, but if Terrence was purple, it would be to Frantic in that sector.
I see. Makes sense. Thank you very much, Zingy, for that. Peanuts joins in the dying stages of qualifying and will
nice.
hopefully join us for the race. That is a good timing moment right there. Fair play to Peanuts. But we have Terrence finishing their qualifying. I say that's starting their final qualifying run, and lots of cars behind also. I was going to say do the same thing. Simaxon retires the car and doesn't complete the lap. That is their session finished. Jericho will listen to the pit lane. Terrence backs off, or is that, I don't know.
Yeah.
They back off. So we've got Pepe making a big mistake and not actually using the energy to the full extent. We've got Chocolada, though. They will be on their way to try and set an improvement lap here.
Yeah, Pepe pushing very hard here. Chocolada, these guys are going to be the last two. Devin, of course, being a higher tier driver, if I'm not mistaken, he can't set a lap. So it's going to be down to these two to see where they can get on the grid. Pepe coming through the first few corners there. Very, very nicely indeed. He saved his battery all for this straight, which is a very smart thing to do. He's got Devin behind who won't interrupt him. Chocolada doesn't seem to have anyone ahead, so it looks as though Pepe might get a tiny bit slipstream here, although he's to the left-hand side, which I don't know why that might be. Maybe he thinks that Devin's on a natural push lap, which he's not. Coming through the last few corners, the last sector now, he's made a bit of a mistake, and I don't know if it's going to be much of an improvement, isn't it?
We'll see. We've got Chocolada who will cross the line first, of course, out of these two. And it says purple middle sector according to Terrence, but they've made a bigger mistake, and that is going to be qualifying finish there for the Alpine driver. Will we see Pepe make an improvement? No, they have backed off. That is going to be qualifying finish for the USA Grand Prix. Simaxon will take pole position, Verf in P2, and Frantic, unfortunately, messing up qualifying at the very end with a P3. At least they set a decent lap time early on in the session, and they managed to get ahead, of course. But it's going to be an interesting one for the race. I think we've got a lot more pace to utilise in the Grand Prix, so I don't know who's going to come out on top in this race.
Yeah, it's all very close to the front. You've got the people, Simaxon and Verve, only 1/10 behind each other. I think Frantic could also be up there. He's been incredible for this season. I think, I'm not sure what Chocolad's doing. Bit interesting. But, as I was saying, Frantic got the pace. Jericho Willis seems to have all right pace. If he can keep with the front runners, which shouldn't be too difficult if they are, there's going to be a bit slow in the first few laps. He could be in a bit of a shout. Terrence P5, he's quite far back and struggling to get that last lap in, so I'm not sure. And then you've got everyone else not really setting a competitive lap time, or obviously not setting a lap at all, considering they are higher tier drivers.
Awesome. Qualifying done, and we will get the results on the screen and then get ready to go for the race. 28 laps of COTA. Here we go. Simaxon takes pole position, Verf in P2, then Frantic in P3. We'll go through the race director as quick as we can, as always, and we'll be back for the race. We'll see you in a bit. Ready? Hold! Go! Who's going to get it into turn one? We're away, and the outside line is available for Simaxon. Late braking. Will it be for the Mercedes? They're not going to be able to contest. A brilliant job there for Simaxon on the start. The Chocolada, unfortunately, off. I don't know what happened to them on the start, but that is the top three staying as they are. Top four staying as they are. We've got Terrence in P5, but Devon Young getting up to P6 in the immediate stages as everyone was going side by side or something. Peanuts will start in the Red Bull. Chocolada having more issues, not got damage. They'll try and stay ahead of Malik Mima, who really gets that completely wrong and makes contact. That is going to be a car down the order with damage. I don't think we'll get any problems, but that is going to be Frantic ahead of Verf as they manage to send it into turn 11.
Yeah, Pepe and Charlie having a little battle there. A bit of contact made. Charlie diving up the inside into turn 11. He's going to give the slipstream to Tom Robb, who's also going to go for the move on him. Will he go for the move on Charlie as well? Coming into the big braking zone here? No. It looks as though Terrence, though, making a bit of contact with Devin as he moves up to P5, making a mistake. And that's going to allow Charlie to easily get through up into P7.
Charlie and the Alpine making it work. Tom Robb is going to be up next to try and have a go, but they're just going to be a little bit too far back. They do make a bit of contact. The Red Bull of Peanuts does drop back slightly. Hopefully they've got their setup available, but Chocolada trying to find a way through if they can. Pepe just holding on to these guys. But as we start lap 2, Simaxon holds on. Frantic made it work ahead of Verf. Jericho Willis stays in P4, and Devon Young is going to be looking to try and have a go. That is going to be a retirement. That's in the penultimate corner on the exit. Virtual safety cars deployed, and we will see a few people in the pit lane, so they will be saved there. No, are they not? They're just catching the deltas. I do apologise.
No, yeah, Peanuts had a very big slide coming out of the last few corners. I thought he saved it, that's why I went off of it, as Millet gets a drive for a penalty, but it looked as though he saved the car. He must have lost it again on that green AstroTurf. You can see it on the outside of the penultimate corner, and that must have been what caused him to crash.
Yep, that is a shame. They already had that damage, of course, from the contact with Chocolada, so that was in the first sector of the first lap. That doesn't make a difference, of course, to their spin, but hopefully they can keep it together and maybe have another go later on. Maybe get a front wing repair and then come back. There could be a late safety car. It is a pretty crazy circuit, so we'll see how that goes in the later stages of this Grand Prix. We're just waiting for that green flag to go racing once again, as that was a Delta catch from Sir Maxon, I guess, and Frantic not expecting it, almost made contact. They take avoiding action. We're just waiting for that call to be made. Who's going to get the best restart? And we are once again going, and that was very, very difficult for many drivers as they got the green flag mid-traction zone in the low-speed section.
Tom Robb diving up the inside of Terrence coming into turn 15 and coming through the fast 16, 17 and 18 complex. Now you can see Terrence just trying to hold on by that inside line, showing superior once again, and Tom, a bit of an audacious move, a bit of contact there. But Robin's racing, and that's him up into P7.
We saw Jericho Willis and Charlie switch as well, as Charlie tries to make it work. We've got Chocolada in the pit lane, unfortunately. Don't know what's happened to them. Do they have damage? We'll see how that one goes for them. But yeah, that's a shame to make an early pit stop. Pepe, the only hard tyre driver, they're not going to be making a pit stop anytime soon. But everybody is switching up. Devon Young made that move ahead of Verf. Verf has lost DRS to the cars ahead. They're going to have to hope that Devon Young can start pushing, using their expertise. The championship winner from last season, can they find a way to catch up to the top two? We'll see how that goes, but they've got Charlie for pressure, has Verf, so looking to the inside line, they are going to be pretty nervous, I'm going to assume.
Yeah, Verf is under a lot of pressure, as you see from Charlie. It looks as though Jericho Willis has dropped back a little bit, as predicted. Charlie going to go down the inside using that overtake button. It's not going to be a contest. Looking further up, Frantic looking for a move. Can't seem to find anything stick at the moment. Devon just trying to protect that P3 at the moment and that track position, because he does look to be very quick when his PC isn't blowing up on him. So it's good to see Devon in the race and good to see him moving up positions. As we see Verf diving up the inside of Charlie once again. He's not having any of it from the Alpine driver. He's going to have that outside, which has proved detrimental to everyone battling so far. And you can just see Charlie is so much quicker on that inside line. And if you're not there at turn 16, you just can't seem to find the grip. He goes a bit wide though, running the curb, and that might make him vulnerable going into turn 1.
Yeah, got to be careful with that one, of course. That is Frantic getting the fastest lap. It's the inside line that always gives you the advantage in the F1 game, of course. It will forever and ever and ever. It's the outside line that gives you the advantage in real Formula 1. Whether you can make it work if you're close enough, though, that's a different question. You just have to really make sure you're fully side by side. Still, I think you'd probably have a disadvantage. But we're on lap 4 of the 28, so Maxon leads the way. Devon Young trying to catch a little bit. They've got about 2 tenths in the last few corners. I'll say that 3 tenths more or less. So they are making some progress, but everyone else is currently just sitting behind Charlie. I was going to say, looking very quick compared to Devon, and was going to put the pressure on, but they've actually ended up losing a lot of time, and they're very on the edge of getting DRS. They might not have got it, Zingy.
No, he just about got it, thankfully, for his sake. He's 8 tenths back. You'll start to see him closing a lot. It doesn't look like anyone's going to be looking for a move. Maybe Tom down the inside of Jericho Willis. He defends to the inside. Tom forces that outside line. He can't break too late because he's got a Mercedes in front of him. Jericho Wills defending nicely to the inside, giving him a lot of space. He could have cut him off there as Tom Roberts hit him, made a lot of contact, and then pushed him off a bit wide. So very aggressive from Tom, just making contact with that front left and rear right. And that's the second time Tom's done that, so I think he needs to reel it in a little bit in case he does cause someone else to have a bit of a big problem, as we've seen Jericho Wells just having there.
Yeah, hopefully Jericho doesn't have any damage. They are championship rival, currently sitting P2 in the championship with 70 points to their name. So Maxon very close behind. Frantic has a little bit of a lead. I think they've got, what is that? It was about 19 points or something. Of course, a few penalties will be applied from previous races within time. We'll get that all updated, ready for Brazil, the next race. But yeah, hopefully Jericho Willis doesn't have any issues and we're all good to go. But Charlie is once again caught up to Devon Young. Devon's gained another few tenths on the two up ahead, but the two up ahead are working together quite well, not really disturbing each other too much, just making sure that they stay ahead for as long as they can so they can relax for as long as they can. It is a difficult circuit on track limits as well, so they need as least pressure as they possibly can deal with so they can focus on keeping it within the lines.
Yeah, it looks so frantic and might try and go for this move here. So Maxon not really defending, showing him the inside just there. Doesn't look like he's going to give him much of a challenge. No ERS used for the Red Bull. And that's frantic back into P1. Charlie goes for the move on Devon Young, finally making that move stick. He's charged that battery up. And he looks as though he's in a much more comfortable state as we see Samaxon. It looks as though he's going to try and maybe go for the move. Frantic's going to very aggressively defend the inside. And can Samaxon get the run coming into 16, sorry. It doesn't look like he can. Frantic holding it inside, and as you can see, there's no really way past there. He's going to have to wait until turn 1. But at that point, is it really worth going for the move? It's only lap 5, remember. There's no point taking all these risks if you're going to just crash.
Interestingly, they didn't lose the DRS. Of course, Charlie and Devon also switching positions, so they are lucky that that happened. So Maxon's still going to try and make it work, and they do get ahead. Frantic will not challenge this time around, but yeah, it was an interesting course. Just saying they're working together and they immediately fight on that very lap. So that does allow Charlie to catch up. Devon Young will be following very, very closely. Verf not going to be quite so close, but if everyone's in a DRS train, you're definitely going to be gaining a lot on the straights, but in the corners you'll slow each other down, and then all of a sudden it could allow the Mercedes driver to catch up quite possibly. We'll see how it goes, but also Jericho Willis made that move. Unfortunately, Zora's had an issue. We've got Peppy in the pit lane as well. Very, very early on that hard tyre. They do get a front wing change, I believe, but onto the medium, and they're going to try and go as long as they possibly can right here.
Yeah, it looks so frantic, and Samaxon are going to change once again. Will Charlie and Devon do the same thing? Charlie not making it as easy for Devon to go down the inside, but he doesn't fight it too hard. He loses the back end, and Charlie's going to get that switch back nice and easy. If he can just break nice and late here, holds it around the outside. Devon giving him the room. Coming now into turn 15, we've seen a lot of dive bombs here in real life. Charlie's going to hold it to the outside there. Devon's going to get the switcheroo coming through into turn 16. We've seen what's happened here before. It looks as though Charlie can get it, but Devon around the outside. He's made the move stick, and that's him up in AP3. What a move by Devon.
Absolutely incredible. Managed to force Charlie into a very difficult line on the curb on the inside. Both cars losing it as they head to turn 20. They have lost time a little bit, but they are still pretty close. So that's as quick as it's going to get if you're going to be going side by side. They do then get it on DRS and ERS, and I assume they're going to try and take the racing line somewhat. And then see if they can catch up. But that was a very, very close manoeuvre. It looks like Devon's having another go.
Yeah, Devon's going to go down the inside. Will he back off? No, they're going for the S's side by side. He cuts him off. What a move by Devon once again. He shows no fear. And that's him back up into P3. He wants this track position. He thinks he's the faster driver in clean air. And he was 1.2 behind before this started happening. They've lost about 7-8 tenths. It looks as though Charlie's made another mistake, and that's going to allow Verf. Unfortunately, he got a penalty, but that's not dampening his spirits. Coming down into the hairpin now. It looks as though he's made that move and should get DRS for the next straight.
They will indeed. They'll be able to secure that move. I don't think Charlie will get it right. I think Charlie will have missed out on DRS. They're still using the energy to try and have a go. Are they going to be able to sustain that into the corner? They're still going side by side. They're only going to lose more time as Devon Young is going to have a chance to break away. Ghosting, as maybe that was a mistake there from Verf. I don't quite know. It would show a sign of mistakes because that's the way the F1.24 game is. Even if you lose a little bit of time and go slightly slower than usual, then it seems to put you in a ghosting position. Anyway, Verf did lose out, unfortunately, wasn't quite able to make that move, and has already lost DRS range.
Yeah, he made a bit of a mistake. I think just locking the rears coming into the turn 12 there. And it looks like, yeah, he's lost DRS, but these guys battling so hard, I wouldn't be surprised if he catches up once again. Someone who is catching up is Devin Young, 1.3 once again. As soon as he got that clean air, he's caught 7 tenths on one lap, even with these guys having the DRS train. So it's clear to see that Devin seems to be the more consistent and faster out of the two, but Charlie really likes to fight for that track position, as we know, so he's not going to give that up so easily. And once, or if they do get to that DRS train, you want to be up high as possible, because you do not want to be battling and then losing DRS once again, which these guys have been doing.
For sure. Top 8, they're all fairly close. Anything could go wrong and any of them could get a good result, or maybe even a bad result if it didn't go their way. We're going to get another virtual safety car as Zora makes a mistake and is going to be round at the final corner, losing their front wing. And we will have to hope that they can get back into this race. It will only be a virtual safety car, though. That is the lucky side for everybody. They can relax once again. Hopefully no one gets a drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane, though. That is something that we've got to watch out for. All the drivers have got to watch out for that. We've had it a couple of times this season so far. Just as Devin Young was looking to catch up to get that DRS and make some good progress in this race, they've immediately lost out, which is such a shame. It is very, very frustrating to see that, of course, but it is what it is. Frantic leads the way. He's going to also be pretty frustrated because he started to push a little bit, it looked like, as the pit stops were on their way. If they were getting towards the pit lane, do you think, Zingy, they would try and go into the pit lane?
If you can gain 2 or 3 seconds from it, I don't see the issue as to why you shouldn't do it, because as you know, as Milik gets another drive for penalty, every few seconds matters, and it looks so Devin hasn't got that DRS as well, so he tried to maybe, I think it was backing off and then speeding up to try and keep that momentum, but it hasn't worked out for him. But yeah, if the VSC carried on for about 20 more seconds, maybe even like 10 more seconds, it would have been worth the pit, because you would have gained at least 4 seconds from it. And on that new hard tyre, you would have gained more time as well, so Frantic, if you were to pit and everyone to stay out, you could have had 6-7 seconds on someone with only 2 lap fresher tyres, so I don't see why you wouldn't do it.
So pit window, what would that look like? But also, Jerko Willis pitted too early, or are they still going to get a nice advantage? That is a mistake there, unfortunately, from the McLaren of Pepe. That's going to be a retirement, and that could be a safety car. It's not going to be a safety car, interestingly, even though it's so close to the racing line.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about, but it looks as though Devin Young has been overtaken by Charlie. He's going to use the DRS. Surely Charlie's got to use his battery, but he's not using his battery. What is he doing? He needs to use that battery to get up to the top 2. But they're just being very reluctant to help each other. It looks as though they just want to battle one another, which is fair. They both are higher tier drivers, but at the same time, if these two get up to the top 2 and then Verf can capitalise on the battling, Verf could be in the chance of getting maybe a podium here.
They definitely could. I mean, they started P2 in this race, of course. Frantic P3 not able to get the qualifying session together at the end. Now, at the current situation, Simaxon currently leading this race. We would then have P3 for Verf, obviously in the current tier drivers. Then it would be Terence, then Jerko Willis, who, of course, Jerko Willis has made that pit stop. Jerko Willis needs to try and make some progress here, because currently Simaxon will be getting a big chunk out of the P2 that Jerko currently has. Simaxon obviously having a pretty tough time in Austria. They need to try and make every effort to get these points back from what they lost before.
Yeah. Coming into the pit stops, obviously you've seen that Jericho Wells has made that undercut. He will be the fastest driver out on track, no doubt about it, on those fresh hard tyres. We've seen that the undercut, me and Heischler pitted 1 lap early, and we gained 2 seconds, something like that. So you can see how big the undercut is in terms of time, and for what ties he had on the tyre front, 1 lap fresher, it really wasn't worth it. So Jericho Willis should be pushing as hard as he can right now, and he will gain a lot of time from this and maybe put himself back into the fight.
For sure, that would be great to see if they can get the job done. We'll look to see that later on, but So Matson leads the way. Will they make a call into the pit lane within the next couple of laps, or are they going to try and take it for a bit of an overcut? We'll see. Everyone can make different decisions. So Matson did race yesterday, so we'll have a distance experience. I say that as they make a big mistake through the right-hander, but it's not going to threaten their lead for now as they come through the final corner, and Frantic will dive into the pit lane as well as Charlie. So Charlie making a very late call, but follows the Haas. Bumps them into the pit lane, but actually helps them a bit as they didn't actually get a speeding penalty, but they just kind of went a bit quicker.
Yeah, Frantic and Charlie deciding to have that undercut. As I say, even by one lap, it's going to be so detrimental to the other cars who didn't pit, because they're going to lose, I mean, upwards of 2 seconds, as I said. Maybe more, maybe a little bit less, I don't know, maybe the track
also, they've
conditions
lost
are...
the DRS train as well.
Oh yeah, they have. That's probably why they lost so much time, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. So that'll be difficult. If you have a car in between you and another car that pits, then all of a sudden the gap extends, as it would seem obvious, and then you lose the DRS train. So these guys are now racing for pure pace. Devon Young 1.4 seconds back instead of being in that train. But Frantic and Charlie, they are in a train. So whether they try and switch up, I don't quite know, but if they can make that work, they can warm up their tyres and then go for it. Although I don't really know why Charlie was looking to try and do a bit of a fake move. They need to try and work together with Frantic at this point. DRS will be available, and Charlie will make that move nice and easily here anyway.
Yeah, Frantic using the battery. I just think he wants to stay close with Charlie, because it might sound a bit weird, but if you're very close to the guy who's pitted in front, you can obviously, you might get jumped if you're not that close. So as you can see, Charlie actually pulling out the gap. So I think that maybe he's got his tyres heated up a bit more than Frantic. Obviously, being a higher tier driver, you'd expect him to be a bit quicker. As we see Devon Young and Sir Maxon both in the pits. It's not Devon Young he needs to worry about. He's a he's a higher tier driver. It's going to be Verf and Sir Maxon he needs to worry about coming through the last few corners. Terrence is lagged out, unfortunately. And coming through the final corner is Frantic. The guys have got their tyres on. He's going down the pit lane. It's going to be a bit close, I think. We'll see coming out the pit lane now. You can see him on that right-hand side. That's the Maxon, actually, coming out the pit lane. And he's actually got the overcut on Frantic, but with cold tyres. Frantic's going to be looking left and right. He can't seem to find a way through it. And that's Sir Maxon performing the overcut on Frantic.
That is absolutely incredible. I did not expect that at all. A brilliant pit stop there from Sir Maxon. They managed to sit right behind, and they're not really losing that much, to be honest. They're right in this battle. Charlie might get DRS here on Terrence's Ghost car, which will be absolutely incredible for them, as they'll be able to hold on nicely, and basically everyone's just going to be locked in position right here as they go down the straight. So Frantic's going to be incredibly frustrated with that situation right there. Devon Young, nowhere to be seen currently.
Yeah, he's 90 minutes back. He doesn't get the DRS on this straight, unfortunately. But these guys are going to be very close. They're going to be battling very hard. So I wouldn't be surprised if Devon Young can get it back in the DRS. Someone making a move is Jericho Willis up into P7. Tom Brayner looks so he's struggling on those cold tyres. You can just see the understeer as actually Jericho Willis goes off wide as I say that. So commentator's curse there. He defends the inside. He does not want anyone to go down his inside. And coming into turn 15 and 16, he should be able to maintain that P7. But these guys need to work together because they are quite far back from that leading train. And even if they battle, it's going to be very difficult for them to catch up, personally.
Yeah, you never know. There could be a few cars that would have an issue. Terrence actually makes a conscious pit decision. I think they're back in the lobby. It's not their AI doing that. So yeah, they're probably one lap later than they would have liked to. But they'll have slightly fresher tyres towards the end of this race. So maybe that'll be an advantage later on. They're going to be slightly frustrated, but they will come out in P8 as they were originally before, I believe, anyway. So we'll see how that one goes. Verf staying out. Are they looking for the soft tyre?
I'm not sure. I don't know if I don't think it's going to be worth it going for the soft tyre. I don't see a point as to why you would, especially if you're getting caught seconds per lap. It's not like he didn't have that initial 20 or so second gap because he wasn't really at that front pack. He was a few seconds behind, so he's just going to be losing time upon time. And unless there's a safety car coming out, which he might be praying for, I don't see as to how this strategy could work.
No, it was a difficult strategy for Verf back in Singapore that lost them the chance to fight for the race win at the end. Hopefully that doesn't go the same way again. COTA's been a difficult circuit for them at the start. They've been very close, not able to get DRS on a couple of occasions, but still been in the fight. They've decided to dive into the pit lane just about now. They almost went into the wall, and now that is Charlie going to be taking the lead of the Grand Prix. Lap 13, old tyres right there. So now the hards will be good to go, and they'll be nice and consistent towards the end. Charlie gets the fastest lap in the meantime.
Yeah, so Maxon's actually very lucky here that he's got Charlie to kind of drag him along. Frantic can't do anything at the moment in terms of overtaking because they've both got DRS, so it kind of cancels out each other. Devin Young is 2 seconds back. Have I missed something? I thought he was up with the top pack, no?
He was pretty close. He obviously didn't get that DRS. Maybe frustration right there, and that could have lost it out. I don't quite know. Maybe just making a mistake, or potentially lag issues again. We'll see. But they are very quick. We know that, and they will have the opportunity to catch up if these guys ahead fight. They're very close. As I said, on the straight, a DRS train will be absolutely mega. But if the cars don't play it right, then they could lose out a lot in the corners, and that's what Devin Young is going to be hoping for here. 2 seconds. We'll just keep an eye on it and see how it changes. But you look at the gap that they are able to gain in a DRS train. 4 tenths, almost 5 tenths right there. Did get to 5 tenths. Devin Young will now have the ability to catch up in the corners. That's going to be Chocolada making a mistake. Only a yellow flag, no VSC or full safety car. Devin Young trying to catch up a little bit more. That is going to be a time penalty for the first time in the top 3.
Yeah, again, a time penalty for the leader of the Grand Prix in 2 consecutive days. Charlie getting that 3 seconds. It's very difficult. As we say, track limits, we've been talking about it. Qualifying race, you know, this track's very, very, very pushing to the limits, and you don't want to be too slow, but if you just push it a bit too far, as Charlie's done there, you can get that time penalty. Even if you make a mistake, go off and slow down. I mean, Aaron, you know that sometimes when you go off the track in this game and slow down, it still likes to give you a warning for whatever reason, even if you have given up the right amount of time. So Charlie unfortunately gets a penalty, which means that Maxon can relax, not too much, but he knows he doesn't have to get ahead of Charlie anymore.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they know that they don't need to get ahead of Charlie anyway. Charlie's a higher tier driver, so they can just sit behind regardless. Obviously, if you want to try and get the win on track, then it does help a lot. They just need to stay behind Charlie and maybe, well, not maybe, and hope Frantic isn't able to do anything about it. Devin Young, 2.6 seconds, loses more time in the corners this time around. I'm wondering if maybe they've gone into the back of someone and got some incredibly light damage that we can't see from this view. In the meantime, we've seen the battle of Tom Rob, Verf and Jericho Willis happen, as Jericho Willis wasn't able to hold on to the back of Verf, who got that undercut and is now trying to make a bit of a charge here. And still in the DRS, of course, Tom Rob was looking to break away from the Williams, but making that work, making the slingshot work was Verf, and it brings them all back together. And once again, at the same part of the circuit, Chocolada has another issue.
Yeah, another issue for the Alpine there is, well, one of the both Alpines having issues is Charlie has got that penalty. Chocolada struggling with the S section. It looks so Verf on that newer tyre, gaining a bit more time than what you would have maybe expected. He's already on the back of Tom Rob. Looks like he made a bit of a mistake coming through the penultimate corner. Maybe the V-carb feeling a bit of a pressure there. Coming through the last corner again, losing the back end, so it looks as though maybe the hard tyre on Tom has gone off a little bit. You see Verf going up the inside into turn 1. No contest there. The fresher tyres working out actually much better than what I would have expected, and that's him up into the top 5.
Perfect stuff right there. P5, Devin Young is up next if they can do it. Time penalty wise, of course, that's what they're going to be looking at. They need to be 3 seconds ahead of Verf. Tom Rob, high tier driver, gets time penalty. Devin Young immediately gets it. Both racing balls basically at the same time get those time penalties. That is going to be the McLaren moving out the way of the other cars. Now, as I said, Verf just needs to try and get 3 seconds ahead of Jericho Willis, and they're not in the DRS of Tom Rob, so they might be able to do such a thing. Will they get pressured by Tom Rob, however? I don't quite know. They're quite far back, so I don't see why you'd want to do that right there. That is going to be Chocolada, unfortunately, retiring in the pit lane. A shame to see that happen from such a strong performance, of course, in Austria that they showed, but it is what it is. It happens. It's a difficult circuit. They'll move on to the next one. That is, despite not really being in an overtaking position, they're still going defensive and will have lost a bit of time to cars ahead, but also not extended as much as they could have to Jericho Willis, although it is looking pretty good so far because they've already got 2.6 seconds ahead, and actually Verth is 3 seconds ahead of Jericho Willis at this stage right now.
Yeah, top three, staying as they are, Charlie having that little bit of an advantage over Samaxon, who made a bit of a mistake coming out the first corner, extending to 7/10. Same goes for Frantic. He is also 7/10, 8/10 behind. He needs to be careful here because he's not particularly the fastest, which is what we would have thought coming into this weekend with Frantic winning. You said earlier on every Grand Prix he's participated in this season, so it's a very impressive. But from this situation, it doesn't look like he's particularly fast. And with that, he might struggle, especially with Charlie being here now, to get that win.
So previously they were a crossover driver between F1 and F1.5. This weekend they made the decision to stick to F1.5 permanently and hopefully move to F1 next season. That does mean that they didn't get a full race distance in yesterday. Of course, Simaxon did, and they can race as a reserve driver. Simaxon is in exactly the same position as Frantic regarding the crossover driver situation, but they did race as a reserve, and they got that distance. So maybe Frantic is struggling, and they seem to be losing more time. 9/10, 8/10, they get back, but they are on the limit here, and they could be in trouble.
Samaxon's a F1.5 or F1 driver?
F1.5.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. But yeah, sorry, Frantic, as you say, 9/10 behind. He's on the edge here of losing DRS. It looks as though Samaxon, these guys both have DRS, but even with that, it looks as though Samaxon's pace is far superior to Frantic. They will be getting both DRS. Frantic will be getting that double slipstream, so there's not really any excuse for Frantic to be struggling here. But maybe with that one lap, actually no, because Charlie's got 7-lap old tyre, so I don't know what the case would be here, but it looks as though Frantic's just struggling for pace at the latter part of this race.
Yeah, maybe the tyres just have been used too much, maybe temperature, I don't know. Maybe they've designed the setup towards the medium tyre too much. We'll have to check in on that later with the interviews, if we can get an interview from Frantic, of course. Devon Young's managed to stabilise the gap and would I dare say gain a bit back? No, they've just stabilised the gap so far in this race. DRS is available once again from Frantic. Would Samaxon even dare to go for the lead of the Grand Prix?
Nah, he's hanging back, no ERS. He's not got no ERS, he's on non-deployment mode. He wants to stay behind. He knows that Charlie seems to have to pace out of the top three, and with that he wants to just make sure he can extend as much as he can from Frantic. He doesn't need to do anything, he just needs to relax, not get a penalty himself, look after that battery as well as he can, and maybe in the process shop Frantic, which would be absolutely phenomenal for the Red Bull driver. We've seen Max Verstappen in the Red Bull winning earlier on, and hopefully for Sir Max's sake he can get to the top for the Red Bull team as well.
Of course, you've got to really pay attention. That is Frantic going off the circuit, managing to stay within the 8/10 mark. They still managed to not lose too much time, so that's good for them. Tom Robb getting us another 3 second. Unfortunately, that makes it a 6 second time penalty. I just wanted to say, if Sir Maxon can pay attention to what's going on the timings, even if maybe Charlie has the pace advantage and they don't want to make that overtake, it might make sense to make that move, because if you can get a slingshot and just break away from the car behind, then that would be great, because you're going to get an extra few tenths, of course, rather than sitting behind. We'll see how that goes, but Frantic this time has managed to get it to 8 tenths. I don't think it's enough. I think if it becomes 9 tenths on this straight here, then Samaxon has to push for the move and try and break away with that slingshot advantage that they would get. Will that be possible? I don't quite know.
Well, it is 9 tenths at the moment, but again, he's not going for the move coming into slipstream. He doesn't want to make that move for whatever reason. I think he just wants to stay relaxed there. I know it would be the smarter thing and obviously the safer thing to go for the move, try and break that DRS, but at the same time, Frantic's on 2 warnings. I don't know what Samaxon's on. I think he might be on... He's on 2 as well, so he doesn't want to risk anything. He doesn't want to push for that position because he might make a mistake himself, get that 3 seconds and basically give Frantic a win. Which is especially... He does not want that to happen. He needs to just stay relaxed. And for Frantic making those few mistakes coming into turn 19 here, as he doesn't do it this time, you can see that Frantic is pushing, so this is all he's got.
Yep, it's a difficult situation for both drivers right here. They've got a lot to think about. We've only got a few laps remaining of this Grand Prix, and it starts to get intense. This is where the mental side kicks in, not necessarily the physical side-by-side racing that you get in the opening stages. You just want to gain as many positions as you can and then relax. You've got to really try and go for the mental game, and that is a 1 second margin that we went momentarily with. Frantic, this could be it here.
Yeah, does he get a good enough exit coming through? No, there's the DRS line in just a few moments time. There it is, you can see it beneath Frantic's car, and that is 1 second. Some action, surely, even if he does not want to push at all, he's got to go for the move. If there's any chance of him winning this Grand Prix, well, he's already got a good chance, but the point is, if he wants to have an even better chance, he needs to go for the move. He's not going to do so, but you can just see the advantage he's gaining, even without making that move. 5/10 of one straight, as you said earlier on when we've seen Devin Young. It looks as though that now he's going to use Charlie's pace to the maximum, and this is going to cost Frantic a win here.
Just to quickly pay attention to Charlie, they don't have a full battery, so they're not relaxing. They're not pushing massive amount. They've still got half a battery left, but they were using a bit of battery, and with the DRS available for Samaxon but not Frantic, Samaxon can take advantage of that battery usage from Charlie. So that is how they managed to gain it, or make it 4/10 from 1.1 seconds, what it was looking like on the exit of that hairpin, of course, all the way down that straight. So really taking advantage of the other car's ERS usage. And yet Frantic is going to be pretty frustrated with this one. So Maxwell's going to look for their second win this season, their first win on track over Frantic if they can. Lap 21 out of 28. They haven't got long to go to make this work, and they're only gaining more time on the Haas driver. Would you say the Haas driver has a little bit of damage maybe that we can't see, as we maybe suspected from Devin Young, or is it just a tyre situation as you get to these later stages on this stint? I would say it's still too early to have an issue, but maybe they just are really struggling. Zingy, would you say that the hard tyre yesterday was quite difficult to drive on?
No, actually, I'd argue more that the medium tyre was a pain in the backside to drive on. There was just no grip at all on that rear end. Yes, the hard tyre did start to lose rear traction towards the end of the race, but that was lap 26, 27, and these guys were only on 10 lap old tyres, so I wouldn't imagine that the rear's overpowering the front at the moment, but Frantic just seems to be struggling so much. 2.3 seconds, the gap is now to Samaxon on second place, so I don't know what the case would be. Maybe he's put the brake bias too far back, which is what I experienced. If you put it too far back, you can just lock the rears, they overheat, they get very worn out. So it could be a case of brake bias, it could be a case of just pushing too much, maybe not using the fronts as much as they should have. I'm not sure, but this is not Frantic that we've seen from last week.
It's not. It's not the Frantic that we've seen so far this season. I know he has said that it's always been very close. Even though they've got the 100% win rate, they've always been very, very close. Except from Zandvoort, that's been the only race that they've actually won by a bit of a gap. Other than that, it's always been within 1 second. Now, it's the other way around. It's been flipped. So Maxon is going to be absolutely loving this. Not only do they finish ahead of Frantic, but they've got a big gap ahead of Jericho Willis, who has got in between them Verf and Frantic. So right now, Jericho Willis P4, Samaxon taking maximum points position-wise. That will be absolutely perfect for their championship. And we've not got long to go. It is now crunch time, and we'll see how it goes. In the meantime, Verf has managed to break away from Tom Robb, so they've been able to relax. Unfortunately, Jericho Willis just hasn't had the ability to get that gap. Terence is 8 seconds away. I don't think they're going to be in a position to make that move, but Terence right now could actually go for fastest lap right here.
Getting that extra point would be something you'd always want to get in a race, and with Malik, 1 minute 30 behind, he's having a hard weekend. It looks as though he's been struggling with rear traction all day. He's got a bit of frontline damage too. Terence, he's got that gap around about lap 24, 25. That's slap on a set of soft scope for fastest lap. There's nothing stopping him from doing so. He's not got anything to gain, he's not got anything to lose here. He may as well go for it, and if he spins, then, well, he's going to stay PA.
Yep, for sure. It's it's a pretty simple situation, although, that being said, you want to try and leave it as late as possible, because your Yerko Willis would otherwise react and then get that point from you. So Terence has got to leave that to the last 2 laps, effectively, so he could have 1 lap, maybe 3 laps, so you can have 2 attempts at the lap, but you only really need 1 lap, as putting a set of softs on with a very, very light car, you just get such an advantage. You don't even need to push that hard, and you'll still probably be able to get that purple time, of course. Now, lap 23 of the 28, Charlie with that time penalty, Simatson currently on queue to get this win on the results in first place as well. Just to confirm, I do believe Malik Mima unfortunately having issues with the manual gearbox, not used to driving that, so that would explain the situation for them. So hopefully we can talk to them after the race and see what's going on there. That is another time penalty there for Tom, who does drop back further behind Verve. Verve is no slouch though, very, very quick. Actually, look at this in the meantime. We've got Frantic and Devon Young very close, as Devon Young has managed to catch up a little bit. Obviously, Frantic knows that he doesn't need to race Devon, and Devon, of course, has is that a 6-second time penalty that they've got to their car?
No, 3.
3 seconds. So they are going to be pretty safe to be able to finish ahead of Devon. They won't lose that P2 for the EU drivers, but it is a bit of a shame to lose that position from when they were earlier fighting for that P1, of course, on that medium tyre.
Yeah, Devon 1.8 seconds behind 1.7 now. Maybe Frantic does have damage, because, I mean, I don't know. There's something wrong with Frantic. I'm not saying as a person, I mean as a car. There's something that seems to be going on, because there's no way. I know once you lose the RS, you're going to lose a lot of time, but he has just been dropping like a fly. Devon's no slouch, we know that. He is a very competitive and fast driver. But my point being is he's just lost so much time to everyone over these last few laps. I'm going to actually compare lap times, not to Simatson, but to Charlie, because he's in cleaner as well. 35, yeah, mid 35s, and if we go to Frantic, he's setting what? 36 and then 37 ones the last 2 laps, so he's been really slow, especially these last 2 laps. As we can see, Devon now within 1 second almost of Frantic. He is saving a little bit of battery, but that wouldn't explain him being, say, what, a second slower lap?
No, it definitely wouldn't. It's a very strange situation for both of these guys in P3 and P4. It's not what we usually expect. Maybe there'd be technical issues that we saw for Devon yesterday. They could have returned and made it very difficult for them to drive, but they have maybe decided to carry on. Unfortunately, Malik Mima does get disqualified from the race for receiving too many time penalties this evening. That is a terrible shame to finish off their race like that, but hopefully they can move on to the next one and have a bit of a better time. That is another time penalty right there for Charlie. Say Frantic was able to get into a 6-second time penalty range, they'd be able to get that P2 on track, of course. Whether that's possible, I don't quite think so, but Devon Young is very close to the back of Frantic. They could maybe work together with a bit of a slipstream train, maybe make a bit of a late comeback. In the meantime, Terence, of course, now he's definitely got no one behind to worry about, but they have started to gain on Jericho Willis, so all of a sudden it makes kind of more sense to be able to stay out on track.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just so baffled by Frantic's lack of pace. Devon's caught him up now. And if these guys battle enough, maybe Verve will catch these two. There's no way he's scared of getting a penalty, because if that's the case, there's no point of him dropping 7 seconds. You might as well push and risk that penalty. I know he has 2 warnings. I just couldn't tell you what the issue is. I don't know if you feel the same way, Aaron, but it's just very baffling to see a top-class driver just fall like this. From, like, being up there at the start of the race, you know, putting pressure on for the lead, and now this happening where he's getting challenged by Devon, who was about 8 seconds back at the start of the stint. So, yeah, what would you think the issue is?
It's got to be damage. There's no way that it's anything else. We'll get to find out the true reason, of course, later on. Unfortunately, that's another disconnection there for Terence, so hopefully they're able to get back in and finish this race. That is such a shame, actually, because they were gaining. They were 6 seconds behind. Now they've extended even further, so they're going to have to join and go for that fastest lap. That is devastating there for the Aston Martin car. You never want that to happen. But yeah, back to this battle with Frantic, of course. It's an interesting one. We'll get to find out later on what their situation is. Now we've got 3 laps remaining of this Grand Prix, and there's not long to go. They've just got to try and carry it home. They'll finish P2 for the EU drivers, and they'll score some decent points. 4 points difference between Samaxon and themselves. They do have a pretty decent advantage over Samaxon. Samaxon not scoring many points, if at all, in Austria. So that is what's going to save Frantic here. They managed to make it work earlier in the season, and it will save them as we get to the future races, of course, where things go slightly wrong. Only 4 points difference compared to 20 points.
Not only will Sir Maxim win this race, if everything does go right, you must remember the mental aspect. He's won a race ahead of Frantic. He's got that massive gap ahead of him, so that's going to give him a lot of confidence going into next weekend in Brazil, which of course is a very, very DRS dependent track. And even if Frantic is there right behind him, he'll have that confidence and knowledge that he is good enough to push for wins in Iran. I think that's pretty understated a lot, that having that confidence while driving a car, you do need it a lot, otherwise you're going to struggle. And it looks as though Frantic is struggling right now due to whatever issue he is having.
Definitely around this circuit especially. A lot of people don't really like it, so if you can go into the weekend or the race event with a positive mindset, you will have immediately an advantage over every other car on the grid. So that is something that maybe Sir Maxon has, I don't quite know. Devon Young finally makes that move on Frantic, and they'll take the racing line as these guys start to switch up on these final laps. Of course, they start the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix. Is Frantic going to try and get ahead of Devon Young? I don't quite know. 3 seconds behind Verf. As long as they don't get a time penalty, I don't think they're going to be contested by that Mercedes, although the Mercedes is trying to make a late comeback from going on the severe overcut, of course. Terrence did basically double their gap between them and Jericho Willis, so it's going to have to be the soft tyre run. As you see them go into the pit lane, they will make that call, and hopefully they can get yet another fastest lap point to their race. Now we're going to see Sir Maxon saving the battery this time around, but they're definitely going for the move surely on the last lap here. Both drivers absolutely maxed out on the ERS, so it will all be about management on the final lap, but also about that DRS, which will be pro Sir Maxon. Let's see how that one goes.
I do think Frantic's got damage. I was looking at his onboard, and coming through the left-handers, you can maybe not here because it's a low-speed corner, but through the high-speed left-handers, there's just no turning at all. You'll see for turn 15, 16 it's fine, but coming through turn 19, try and spot, maybe go on board from Aaron, just so the viewers can see here, coming through turn 19, I want to see how bad it does look. Not bad actually there, but you can just see that Devon, even with a good corner for Frantic there, has gained a lot of time. And again, it doesn't look like he's got any turning at all, so I think that front light end plate is damaged somewhat, and that's what has been the issue that he's been having for these last 10, 15 laps.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out where that would have occurred. I don't know what would have happened.
Maybe.
Maybe, yeah, it's very, very possible. Something that I've also noticed that was very impressive for a few moments was that Malek Mima managed to undisqualify themselves to be DNF'd for a moment as they retired from the circuit later on, or from the race, I should say, and then is now once again disqualified. That is Devon getting a 3-second, but it's all about the top 2 now. Who will get it on track at least? DRS available for Sir Maxon, but not getting a good exit. They will get a phenomenal run, and I think they will try and get it done. They will be able to get there. This is for side-by-side from P1 into the braking zone at turn 12. They're going to be ahead. Charlie is the inside line. They're going to try and push them all the way to the track limit. They gave a lot of space, actually. The inside line now is available for Sir Maxon, but I don't think it's going to work. I think Charlie's done enough this time, unless they go for the switchback. They didn't quite get it right. They mistimed it, and they're going to lose their run. Charlie will take it ahead, and they're going to be looking to get ahead of everyone on track at least. But Sir Maxon, without time penalties, has driven a phenomenal race and will take a victory 4 points ahead of their championship rival in the EU Championship as they spin across the line very, very slightly, as that is Sir Maxon taking the win for the USA Grand Prix. Charlie in P2, and then we're going to have Devon Young finishing P3. Frantic will get it with time penalties. Then we're going to have Verf in P5, Tom Robb will follow soon, Jericho Willis in P7, and Terence is looking for a very nice fastest lap to finish this race. Not what they wanted, but it's what they'll get.
Yeah, Terence coming through the last few sectors after a very intense race. We've seen some Maxim with that very, very nice pace. Frantic, of course. We think we know he's got damage now. It looked horrible to drive, especially around that first sector. You could see the chronic understeer that he was having. Terence, meanwhile, coming through the last few corners, very laggy, of course, as he's from the other side of the world, but he is going to be pushing for that fastest lap. The fastest lap at the moment would be from, I think, some Maxim, 34.6. I'm just going to check here, 34.5 from Charlie. We'll see as he comes across the line. If he doesn't invalidate coming through the last few corners, he should be able to get it up to the line. Now, what's it going to be for Terence? It's going to be a 1 minute 34.4, and that's him with the fastest lap.
Lovely
Very
stuff.
nice.
Manages to get it once again this season. A couple fastest laps to the name. I think it's 3 or 4 now. So, yeah, well done indeed. Charlie Driver of the Day as they make a brilliant comeback this race. So, well done indeed to them. And we will get the results on your screen as Samaxon takes a victory. Samaxon wins, Charlie P2, Frantic in P3. Then we've got Devon Young versus Jericho Willis, followed by Tom Robb. Terence with the fastest lap. DNFing was Chocolada, Zora, Peppy, Peanuts, and DSQ'd was Malik Mima. We're going to go through the race director just in case. We'll go through the instance section. I do apologise for the stumbling there, and then we'll go into the pit stop section as well. We will be back for the post-race interviews if you're watching the full race replay. We'll see you next time for the Brazilian Grand Prix.